Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for joining me.
Always a pleasure, Brittany.
As we sit here right now, former President Donald Trump is currently on trial in his criminal hush money case in New York. Aside from the former President Donald Trump, his former fixer Michael Cohen, another central character in this story is Stormy Daniels, who has been a household name since 2018. But for those viewers who might not remember the beginnings of this story, can you explain who Stormy Daniels is?
Sure. In some households, she's probably been well known for well before 2018, but she is the adult film actress and director and stripper who claims that she had an affair with Donald Trump back in 2011. And right at the stretch run of the 2016 campaign, she tried to, this is what the trial is about, sought a hush money payment on this about the affair from Donald Trump, and she was paid $130,000. Whether that payment is violated campaign finance laws is what the trial is about. But then the hush money ended up not mattering. The whole story came out anyways.
During the trial, one of Trump's lawyers asked her if this story made her a lot of money. What was her response?
A very honest answer. She said, it has also cost me a lot of money. There's all sorts of wild swings that we're seeing with her finances based on what's happened in the aftermath of her alleged affair with Trump.
So let's dive into it. In your latest piece for Forbes, you divide this story into 5 sections here. So let's start, obviously, at part 1. You call it selling the story. So can you describe this process for us of her selling the story?
Yeah, she hired an attorney to go around and negotiate with Donald Trump. It was with Michael Cohen on Trump's behalf, trying to get a payment for the hush money. They eventually got $130,000. I believe it took them a couple times to actually follow up on the payment to get it. But after paying her attorney and PR person, she ended up with about $96,000.
So I want to keep the tally that you wrote for the people at home. You wrote ballpark tally $100,000. So now let's move to part 2. You entitled Fame is Fortune. So this leads us to 2018 when the Wall Street Journal broke this story initially about the payout. How did she capitalize on this?
She went on a strip club tour, which was called, supposedly against her wishes, Make America Horny Again. And, we reported at the time that her booking fee had doubled and her appearances had tripled. But when we reached out to her attorney at the time, Michael Avenatti, and more on him later, he said she actually didn't make that much more money out of it. She only brought in about an additional $20,000 due to, more expensive security costs, really cut into the extra income that she was expecting.
So now for those keeping track at home, we are at $120,000. Part 3 is called Courtroom Costs. So this is what really tanks that cash pile here. Talk to us about those costs.
Yeah, she and Trump have sued each other, and she filed the first lawsuit, which was to get out of the NDA that she had signed, and Trump and Cohen agreed to that, but eventually she ended up winning the case. Trump appealed. Trump lost the appeal, and he ended up owing her attorney's fees that totaled about a little bit less than $100,000. However, that was easily offset by the attorney's fees that she ended up owing him. Michael Avenatti sued Trump for defamation over Trump's response to a tweet regarding a sketch that Avenatti had posted. Daniels testified she thought this lawsuit was a bad idea. It was filed nevertheless. And similarly, she lost, appealed again. And each one of those 3 times, she ended up having to pick up Trump's court fees. And, Trump can afford pricier lawyers than she can. So his legal bill for that whole case ended up totaling $660,000. So her net on this was negative $560,000 that she owes Trump for his legal fees. Now, she has not paid a penny of this. She tweeted that out, I think it was a year or so ago, and she confirmed on the stand that she has not paid a penny on it. And Trump is currently going through legal proceedings in Florida trying to force her to pay up. The next hearing on that is later on this month of May.
And so this is when the working relationship between attorney Michael Avenatti as well as Stormy Daniels really comes to a head here. So talk about how Avenatti ultimately ripped her off.
Yeah, so this would be the next section when we talk about her book deal. She signed a book deal that came with an $800,000 advance from St. Martin's Press. Her agent took the standard 15%, and then Avenatti took the not standard $300,000, which she testified was, I believe it was actually in his court case, it came out that he had gone around her back and reached out to the publisher and had the publisher pay him directly. And so he took $300,000 of that. He ended up repaying her $150,000. But by the time he was arrested and on charges of wire fraud and aggravated identity theft, he still owed her $149,000. As most people know, Avenatti is currently in prison. He's not expected to get out until 2035. He owes $11 million in restitution to a whole slew of clients. Daniels told me that she has not received a dime from him yet. And it seems that she's probably going to be waiting for quite some time to recoup that $149,000 that he swiped.
So this is the section you entitle Media Money. And during this time, she brought in almost $1 million. So aside from the book deal, what else or how else was she making her money?
So she sold the rights to the book and some of her other materials for $125,000 to a documentary maker. Currently, you can watch it on Peacock. Don't start it till after you're done watching this video, though, please. It's named Stormy. Now, she only received $100,000 of that $125,000 there. So that's something we see a lot in this, in that when she's able to find money-making opportunities, the problems arise. She did not get all the money that she was promised. Going back to the book deal, Avenatti obviously stole the money, and she also ended up suing her agent for paying Avenatti in the first place, and that lawsuit ended up being settled. Then the last major payment we've seen from her media appearances was that she got $200,000 for appearing on VH1's The Surreal Life reality show back in 2022. Now, Stormy Daniels had made many mainstream appearances before then. She'd been in 40-Year-Old Virgin. She'd been in Knocked Up. But, there's no way she would have commanded a fee of $200,000 like she did here if she was not, had this extra notoriety by being attached to Donald Trump. So we attributed that $200,000 to the aftermath of the alleged affair.
So part 3, Courtroom Costs, put her in the red by $440,000. Media Money boosted her to over $500,000 at $540,000. Part 5 is the police payout. What's that about?
Yeah, I think this is the second biggest payout of anything she's received that we know of. She received $450,000 as part of a settlement with Columbus, Ohio police in 2019. The previous year, they had arrested her on a sting. In her lawsuit, she points out that the police who did this were Republicans. They were Donald Trump supporters. They went out of their way to bust her for violating an act that bans nude dancers or semi-nude dancers from touching patrons. The charges were dismissed within a day, and she ended up getting this $450,000 payment out of it.
So the ballpark tally that you came up with is $990,000, almost $1 million. But at the end of the day, as this is played out on the national stage now for over half a decade, is there any indication that she thinks it's worth it?
No, not at all. I mean, she testified that a couple times. At one point she said that her life was certainly better beforehand. She was unknown. She was living in Texas where people didn't know what her job was. They just knew her as her daughter's mom. She had wonderful friends there. She didn't have to worry about security. So she definitely, comes across as thinking it's not worth it. Additionally, that 990,000 figure, there's going to be some deductions off that. We didn't talk about taxes. We didn't factor taxes into that at all. There could be some additional agent's fees. We attributed all $200,000 of the Surreal Life, but she probably ended up having to pay an agent on that. There could be some other legal fees as well. So I am really excited. We reached out to her. She said she couldn't talk due to the trial going on, but would be happy to speak with us afterwards. The only thing she would tell me was this thing about Avenatti not having paid her yet. So I'm eager to chat with her afterwards. And she said she would answer all of the questions, of which I sent her a very lengthy list. So, we'll probably get back at some point when this trial is over. I'll be happy to talk to you again there about, what else we've learned.
I would definitely love a follow-up. I'm sure our viewers would as well. Zach Everson, per usual, thanks for the conversation.
Thanks for having me on.